Sarah Thompson, 42, from Drab. Sarah Thompson, 42, from Drab Des Moines, clutched her divorce papers like a lifeline. Girls' trip, she'd told her book club friends. But as the plane touched down in Las Vegas, the neon pulse of the strip called to her dormant desires. No more missionary Mondays with Tom, her ex who preferred golf over groping. Check in at the Bellagio, champagne flute in hand, she eyed the poolside cabanas. By midnight, Sarah was no longer Sarah from Des Moines. She was Vixen, a creature of the night, draped in a slinky black dress, her eyes sparkling with a newfound, intoxicating freedom. Her friends, Brenda and Carol, were already deep in the casino's embrace. But Sarah felt a different pull. The air thrummed with possibility, and a tall, dark stranger with eyes like a desert sky offered her a winning smile. He introduced himself as Julian, a consultant who seemed to know everyone and everything about this glittering city. He swept her away from the cacophony of slot machines and into a dimly lit lounge, the kind where secrets whispered and deals were struck. Julian spoke of art, of travel, of a life lived fully, a stark contrast to the beige existence Sarah had left behind. He was charming, sophisticated, and dangerously intriguing. The next few days were a blur of opulent experiences: a private helicopter tour over the Grand Canyon, a private chef preparing a Michelin star meal in a penthouse suite, a private box at a dazzling Cirque du Soleil show. Sarah shed her Des Moines skin with every passing hour. She learned to play poker, not for the money, but for the thrill of the game, for the calculated risks and the delicious uncertainty. She danced until dawn, her laughter echoing through the opulent hotel corridors. Julian was her guide, her confidant, her lover. He awakened a part of her that had been dormant for years, a part that craved adventure and passion. Brenda and Carol, initially concerned by Sarah's rapid transformation, eventually succumbed to the Vegas magic themselves, albeit in their own ways. Brenda found her inner artist at a local gallery, while Carol discovered a talent for blackjack, much to her own surprise. They met each evening, sharing stories of their escapades, a sisterhood forged in the crucible of neon and temptation. But as the week drew to a close, a shadow began to creep into Sarah's newfound euphoria. Julian's consulting became a little too vague. He'd disappear for hours, returning with a glint in his eye and a story that felt just a little too rehearsed. One evening, while Julian was out on one of his mysterious errands, Sarah, feeling a prickle of unease, found herself drawn to his temporary suite. A discreet peek through the unlocked door revealed not the expected luxurious clutter, but a meticulously organized briefcase. Curiosity overriding caution, she opened it. Inside, instead of travel brochures or business plans, she found a collection of passports, each with Julian's photo but different names. There were also stacks of meticulously forged documents and a small, high-powered laptop displaying encrypted financial transactions. The desert sky in Julian's eyes suddenly looked less like adventure and more like deception. Her consultant was a con artist, a master of disguise, and she had been his latest mark. Panic, cold and sharp, pierced through the Vegas haze. She quickly closed the briefcase, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. She had to get out, and she had to get out now. She found Brenda and Carol at their usual table, the slot machines a distant memory. "We need to go," Sarah said, her voice tight with urgency. Brenda and Carol, sensing the shift in Sarah's demeanor, abandoned their chips. "What's wrong?" Brenda asked, her brow furrowed. Sarah explained, her voice barely a whisper. The truth about Julian, the passports, the forged documents. The glamour of Vegas suddenly felt cheap, the excitement replaced by a chilling fear. "He used me," Sarah said, the words tasting like ash. "He used all of us in his own way." Carol, ever the pragmatist, took charge. "We're not letting him get away with it. And we're not letting him get away with us." They formulated a plan, a desperate, audacious gambit. Sarah, still Vixen, would confront Julian. Brenda, with her newfound artistic eye, would discreetly photograph the contents of his briefcase, while Carol, using her nascent blackjack skills, would create a distraction. That night, Sarah met Julian at their favorite rooftop bar, the city lights twinkling below like scattered diamonds. She played the part of the infatuated lover, her voice laced with feigned adoration. Julian, basking in her supposed devotion, let his guard down. As he boasted about his business, Sarah subtly steered the conversation, her questions designed to elicit more information, to keep him talking. Meanwhile, Brenda, hidden behind a large potted palm, expertly snapped photos of the open briefcase Julian had carelessly left on a nearby table. Carol, with a theatrical flourish, approached their table, feigning an accidental spill of her drink. The ensuing commotion, a flurry of apologies and apologies, was enough of a diversion for Brenda to finish her task. As Julian excused himself to tend to Carol's accident, Sarah seized her chance. She quickly took a small, discreet USB drive from her clutch and swapped it with one of Julian's own, a subtle move born of desperation and a surprising surge of her own cunning. The next morning, Sarah, Brenda, and Carol checked out of the Bellagio, their luggage packed, their resolve firm. Sarah's divorce papers were no longer a lifeline, but a symbol of a past she was finally leaving behind, not with regret, but with newfound strength. As they waited for their taxi, Sarah glanced back at the glittering facade of the Bellagio. Julian, the man who had tried to exploit her, was now a pawn in her own game. She knew the USB drive held enough evidence to bring him down, and she had a feeling the authorities would be very interested in the consultant with a pocketful of passports. The plane lifted off, carrying them away from the dazzling, deceitful allure of Las Vegas. Sarah looked out the window, not at the receding lights, but at the vast, open sky. She had come to Vegas as a jilted wife seeking solace, but she was leaving as a woman reborn, a woman who had faced her demons, embraced her desires, and discovered a strength she never knew she possessed. The vixen of Vegas had not just survived, she had triumphed. And the drab Des Moines was a distant memory, a chapter closed, ready for a new story to unfold.